The Nintendo Entertainment System not only looked like a VCR, it was a complete revolution of the video game industry. I am the Game Collector, and this is Second Opinion Games, and today I count down my top 10 NES games. Now, this list might be somewhat controversial because I look at some of the weird games that a lot of other people don't necessarily look at, and every game I looked at on this list was how willing am I to drop everything in my life to play these games. So without any further ado, let's start it now.
Second Opinion Games.
Number 10, Iron Tank, The Invasion of Normandy. No, this has nothing to do with Normandy whatsoever. Maybe if you dive deep into the storyline, which I'm not really here for that at all, so I don't really care. Instead, I care about running over little foot soldiers that look darn cute and fun to smash between the tracks of my giant tank. Also, you have tons of power-ups that you can manage in certain ways, so if you're coming on a boss battle, you can turn on all of your power-ups and become the super beast tank that you deserve to be. And then you could destroy your enemies into dust. And that's really the best thing about this game. However, your cannon is a glass cannon because if you get hit just a handful of times, you are toast, my friends. And this one really slides under the radar, even though the music is incredible and the graphics are just plain average. The gameplay is tight and it's sort of like a shooter that you have to take your time and think about how you want to play through, unlike most shooters. Number 9, Batman. I think my Nintendo's ready to start catch on fire because the graphics that are being pushed out of this game are not something that this system should even be able to accomplish. It's fast running, sort of like Strider, only you could do sweet wall jumps, you're not gonna fall in pits every 15 seconds, and Batman can punch his enemies with his fists, but sometimes he just straight out pulls out a gun and wastes people. You're gonna be throwing batarangs and a whole ton of gadgets and wall jumping and just moving like Batman. This game doesn't really feel like the movie at all. In fact, it feels quite a bit better. This wasn't the Batman we deserved, but it's definitely the Batman we need. Number 7, Dragon Fighter. Another weird one that not many people know about, probably because it's super ungodly expensive and was quite rare for a long period of time. But in this current day full of emulators, you yourself can play it for practically nothing, aka nothing at all. And you'll find that this is one of the most competent action hack'em slash'em games of its type. But I like games that do a little bit more than just the one thing. See, in this game, you can turn into a freaking dragon, which is freaking awesome. Look at how easy this is once you make the transformation into the dragon. And let me tell you something, there are more than one of these creatures, at least 3 of them. So destroying your opponents as a dragon is definitely the best part of the entire game, and learning how to play as each one is necessary to get to its fantastic conclusion. If you love dragons, you cannot pass this one up. Number 7, Silkworm. Now this looks like one of the most average horizontal shooters of all times. The music doesn't really stand out, but it is fairly catchy. The graphics are okay, but they're not great. And you pilot a helicopter, which I gotta say, helicopters are super cool. They're certainly not as boring as random spaceships, which is why I chose this game over some of the other shooters on the platform, like Gunneck, which is also awesome. But that isn't the only reason. How about the fact that you could also play through the game as a Jeep, which means that the entire game feels completely different whether or not you're playing as the helicopter or the Jeep. The Jeep has far more firepower, the helicopter has far more maneuverability. But when you start playing 2-player and having them both at the same time, makes this game feel like complete magic to play through with a friend. However, most of the time I'm here all by myself, which means it just took the number 7 spot. Number 6, Punch-Out, or more likely Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, because at the end of the game, you're gonna take on the champ himself. That is, if you can make it that far. You better be playing on a CRT classic television, because trying to play this on modern TVs, there's a little bit too much input lag to actually beat some of the harder opponents, and that just shows you how well you have to get the timing down in this game. It also ruined all boxing experiences for me from here on out, because every boxing game I ever tried to play after this one felt just wrong. I feel like they got the whole system down perfectly, even if sometimes it was a little bit more fantastical. And tell me if you didn't nearly crap yourself the first time you took on King Hippo. Trying to figure out how to kill him? Oh my god, it's so... this is one of the best games ever, and it certainly deserves to be on this list. The music is incredibly simple, but catchy. After playing for just a few minutes, you'll be humming the theme for the rest of the day in what could be the best boxing experience ever at home, especially at the time, and definitely way better than the arcade version. Number 5, Mega Man 2. Mega Man himself became a pseudo mascot for Capcom at the time, and even a little bit of one for the original Nintendo. They made 6 games for this system, but Mega Man 2 is my favorite. Probably because once you get those saw blades after killing Metal Man, the game just opens up in a whole new way. Being able to fire in any direction that uses almost no saw blade man power is incredibly awesome. And the fact that you can just run and jump and open up new paths as you play through the game with different items, and the music surrounding the entire experience is some of the best Nintendo has to offer. I know I said that a lot in this video, but each of these games really seem to push the sound chips of the NES. And the graphics might not be pushed entirely, but the gameplay certainly is. It's tight, responsive, and the perfect Mega Man experience. Number 4, Kung Fu, another one that seems to come out of nowhere, but I was an arcade rat, and playing this game in the arcade was something very special to me. Playing it at home on my NES felt like I actually owned an arcade machine at my house. Now the opening music is iconic. Trying to save Sylvia from Mr. Big or whoever the heck he is incredible too. And this version is a huge step up over the Atari 2600 version, and quite a bit easier. Did I mention you get to punch bees in the face until they blow up and die? You could also do the same with midgets. Who doesn't like punching midgets? And there's this wizard at the end of stage 4 that you could punch his head clear off. This is such an iconic game. It had to make it on the list. And if you haven't tried it, well, pick it up because it only costs you about 10 bucks. Number 3, Crystallis. This is the very best action RPG on the system, and I don't just throw those words around lightly. Now, if you just manage to hack the game a little bit, you could probably make it into a full-blown Zelda title, but even without the Zelda name, you have yourself one of the coolest RPGs on the platform. You'll pick up different swords like the Fire Sword, Wind Sword, Thunder Sword, and eventually you'll manage to meld the 4 swords together and create the Crystallis Sword to take down a computer in a very anticlimactic final boss battle. You can also play this game on the Game Boy Color, which is where I suggest you play it, but on the NES, it is near perfect, other than some parts that you have to level grind, which was completely normal for the time. But not completely normal is the fact that you have to do very little level grinding in order to get full enjoyment out of it. Also, you can play through the whole game without a walkthrough, which RPGs at this time really were pushing those, so I gotta give it to SNK. They made a gem here. Number 2, Super Mario Brothers. Now, to get away from those people that say Mario 3 is the very best Mario experience on the NES, well, I gotta say I enjoy playing a lot more on the Super Nintendo and even the Game Boy Advance where I can play it portably. So I really love the original version of Super Mario Brothers because the 8-bit graphics are so iconic, and you really cannot stress that enough. There's been so much pixel art given to every ounce of this game out there that you gotta say, when you think Nintendo, you definitely think Super Mario Brothers. Playing through the game really fast and furious, doing speed runs, taking the warp to level 8 in absolutely no time. The learning curve is a little difficult for newcomers to the NES, but it was just the perfect game we needed. You could also get it on different multi-cards, some that have Tetris and even a soccer game, or another one that has Duck Hunt and Mario Brothers. But one thing that's guaranteed, the Mario Brothers part is going to be the one you play the most by far. Number 1, Contra. At least I would have went with Contra. No, Super C seems to be a little bit better game. You don't need to put in the 30 life code to get any enjoyment out of it whatsoever. Even though it seems like it's a little bit easier, putting in a code for 10 lives will pretty much secure that you would play through and beat the entire experience. Maybe not the first time you play it, but definitely the second time through. Playing co-op with a friend is one of the coolest experiences you could have on the NES, which is what really sells it for me. But the fact that the controls are so perfect, the music is incredible, and this feels like the perfect stepping stone in between the first Contra game and Contra 3: The Alien Wars. It just really holds a special part in my heart, especially because all of the aliens actually look like aliens from the movies. They've definitely ripped off a lot going on here. It's not a perfect game by any means, but it is definitely one everyone should play. And no matter what's going on in my day, if you say, let's play a little bit of Super C, I'm gonna drop everything and go play with you. Even if my wife's going into labor or something, because, you know what, I've seen that a couple times already, but I can never get enough Super C. But of course, that's just my opinion. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I had a great time making it. I know a lot of people are screaming at their computers saying, where's Battle of Olympus? Where's Zelda? Where's a ton of the other greatest Nintendo games ever made? Even Bubble Bath Babes I considered for a hot second. And I want to know what your list of the very best Nintendo games are. I know everyone's list is different, and yes, a lot of my list came from my childhood and the games that I preferred playing the very most. So I just want to hear from you guys now. I know I read every single comment, even if I don't respond exactly on time like I should. So until later, I will see you again, guys.